Hare Krishna. In 1977, Dr. T.D. Singh wrote a very nice monograph entitled What is Matter and What is Life? So I will share some of the main points that he made in this. So I will start the presentation. And What is Matter, What is Life? Written by Dr. T.D. Singh in 1977. I dedicated that presentation to my different teachers, science and spirituality that I had, and especially to Srila Bhakti Maharaj, Dr. T.D. Singh, who get his PhD degree in physical organic chemistry in California in 1974. And I dedicate also that presentation to the spiritual master, Srila Bhakti Maharaj, the Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is the founder Acharya of the Bhaktivedanta Institute. So we can have that question: what is matter? What is life according to modern science? So actually, Darwin, he had a lot of influence in that topics. He assumed, he was one of the first to assume that life comes from matter. And modern science has been following his inspiration. For modern science, life is a manifestation of earth. We have also, of course, for the creation of the world, the primordial soup, life is coming, in existence. And the paper, Dr. T.D. Singh is going to present some ideas in order to understand the fundamental differences between matter and life before we can inquire about inside the origin of life. So it is why Dr. T.D. Singh explains that in order to go deeper into the meaning of life, we need a new paradigm to understand what is life and what is matter. He's going to present first the idea given by modern science, and then the paradigm given by the Vedic literature. In Bhagavad Gita, with one of the main books of the Veda, it is explained that knowledge is to understand the distinction between matter and life. According to Bhagavad Gita, this is knowledge. So now we are going to discuss about the basic feature of the absolute truth according to modern science. Modern science wants to get knowledge. It's a very active process to get knowledge. So, but the concept of the ultimate cause of the absolute truth, we can say, seems to be vaguely incorporated in the physical laws, all the laws of nature. Mainly, we are in modern science, we are looking for the immediate cause. For example, Newton, the law of gravitation, and fall down, the immediate cause is the law of gravitation. But what is the ultimate cause? We don't know. And the physical sciences, like physics, chemistry, mathematics, they study only matter, not about life. So it is why in that sense it is said that this approach is reductionistic approach. And we see that the modern scientific viewpoint reduces the absolute truth or the ultimate cause to nothing more than these pushes and pulls between particles. The universe consists of a vast number of particles interacting with one another by simple mechanical rules, having started from some chaotic arrangement. And this is why this French scientist Jacques Monod was saying that life is coming from hazard. There is no cause. Yeah. But if we study what is chemistry and life, we can ask what is the role of DNA. Before the theory of Darwin, in 1859, the chemists, the scientists before were thinking that we cannot create life, cannot reproduce life. They were thinking that life is connected with a non-physical vital energy. But Darwin had a very important role in changing the science. And he is a person who started with his theory of evolution of body, not evolution of consciousness, like the radar presenting. So he was saying that the concept of life for him was of material origin. And that concept, since that time, remained dominant in both science and philosophy. So if it is true that life comes from matter, so we can conclude that DNA, the DNA molecule, holds the ultimate explanation of life. With that view, life is only matter, and therefore we can, in the future, create life. But this chemical evolution can be presented like a molecular fairy tale. Because this theory is based about three assumptions. First one is the hypothetical primitive atmosphere must have been either reducing or neutral. Second one, simple molecules like amino acid, purines, pyrimidine, sugar were formed within this atmosphere under the action of ultraviolet radiation, electrical discharges, radioactivity, thermal energy, and so on. And in the course of time, this molecule gave rise to proteins, protonucleic acids, and also protocellular components, which in turn gave rise to the so-called protocells and finally to the living cell. Of course, in the presentation that I'm doing, I'm just selecting a few points in Dr. Singh's presentation. And if you read that monograph, we are going to have a lot of explanation on these topics. And we need always to remember that Dr. T.D. Singh is a PhD in physical organic chemistry. So he knows quite well about these topics, about chemical evolution, or biochemistry like that. So another topic is chemical evolution. Can we understand chemical evolution with the role of chance or the long time span? It is often claimed in books, he wrote Dr. Singh on the origin of life, that life is bound to evolve from chemicals, given sufficient time. It is why we say, when the scientists are saying, we can create life in the future. Give us more time, more experience, we can create life. How chance and long time span can explain life? How is it possible? It can be some hope, it can be some hypothesis, it can be also some speculation. And we see that the only alternative available within the limit of modern science is to suppose that the simple push-pull laws of molecular interaction can somehow bring cells together out of chaos. So it means from nothing, we can have something. Is it scientific to think like that? Or is it belief? So it means chemical evolution has been developed for different reasons. One, Thompson explained, can be intellectual dishonesty. Because he explained that although evolution is far from proven, when a scientist speaks as though it were an established fact. But we can only conclude that in studying the origin of life, many scientists have failed to act in the true spirit of knowledge. Because science, knowledge, there is no place for dishonesty. Another possibility, the implication and challenge about chemical evolution. This means the molecules, they don't have purpose and meaning. But we see that we give some value to life. We try to protect our life. We try to protect the life of the person that are very dear to us. So this means that we see that we have that theory, evolution theory, and we have the life. And we see that we have a relationship with people who express emotions. We see that without purpose and meaning, there is no value. It's why we can say that the doctrine of the chemical nature of life reduces life to complete meaninglessness, no meaning. And we see that it is not. And especially, we have the example of, we can say, the founder of the theory of evolution, the founder, the main person who introduced the idea that life comes from matter, in his own life, he explains in his autobiography that he has developed a curious and lamentable loss of the higher aesthetic tastes. In Darwin life, after compiling, speculating the theory of evolution, he has seen in his own life that he was losing taste for appreciating life, art, music. No taste in life. And we see that all human beings, we are looking for happiness. We are looking for some morality, some justice. We are looking to have education institutions. We are looking to find some solution to the problem that we have, like disease, drugs, alcohol, smoking, violence. We try to find some solution to this problem. But if we are only matter, why we need to find solution? Why do we want to find solution? So Dr. T.D. Singh, one time he met Stanley Miller, who was a very important molecular evolutionist in America, California. And he said to him, suppose you were given all the necessary cellular chemicals. Could you create a living cell? And the answer immediately of that scientist was, I do not know. So this means that if we don't know, we cannot express something about what is life. If we don't know, we don't know. So it means the point is that if this experiment cannot be demonstrated, needs to create life, molecular evolutionists cannot honestly claim that life has arisen from molecules. They can say, maybe it can come from something like molecules and matter, but they cannot claim 100% that life comes from matter, from molecules. It's not honest. And he go on explaining that there is every reason to believe that simple push-pull laws are insufficient to account for all the effects of nature. And in addition, if we scrutinize the mathematical system of modern physics, we find serious contradictions and discrepancies, suggesting that these laws are not adequate to describe even the phenomena of inanimate matter. So it's a big topic, because if we are honest in life, and if we want to develop knowledge, understanding about life, we need to understand what we know and what we don't know, and make a distinction. And if we create some theory or some, we can say, reason to fulfill our desire to develop some theory of life, this must be true. If it is mainly hypothesis of speculation, this is not honest. So it is why Dr. T.D. Singh explained that the process of natural selection, evolution like that, is the only means envisioned thus far by which simple laws might yield complex organization. Yet, if there does not exist a natural sequence of useful intermediate forms leading to a structure, this process cannot operate. So we need to know the origin and the process to arrive to life. So he suggests, Dr. T.D. Singh, that we need to have a different approach. Because we have seen that life possesses qualities beyond the limit of our physical description. In spite of all that we claim that life comes from inanimate molecules. And there is one topic, very important, which is not so much developed in Western science. It is the topics of consciousness. So, he explained that if we are to understand the mystery of consciousness and the many other mysteries of life, it is clear that we cannot remain within the narrow confines of mechanical and molecular thinking. We need a broader perspective on reality. And it is why he's going to present a new paradigm, new scientific paradigm concerning the laws beyond the laws of nature. So he's going to present mainly the Vedic paradigm, and that especially based on the books Bhagavad Gita, have been written in Sanskrit about 5,000 years ago. And it's very interesting approach that we are going now to get some more ideas. So in that approach, he presents that our alternative view is based on the idea that the fundamental laws of nature must account for all phenomena, and that the cause must be at least as great as its effects in terms of information content. So it is why the existence of such higher laws and principles clearly provide unlimited possibilities for future scientific investigations. Investigation which should prove to be much more fruitful than the many past invocations, the marvelous power of natural selection and chance. This is a very important point. Many persons in the West are not accustomed to the Vedic presentation. And this, if we are open to understand at least some basic principle, we are going to learn that this Vedic presentation can really present a lot of knowledge on infinity of topics. And this can be used with a scientific investigation. So it is why, when you speak about science and spirituality, science is looking for proof. Spirituality is looking for realization. Both of them are looking for knowledge. In contrast to the religion, who are mainly based on faith. So it is why the Vedic literature does not speak about religion. It speaks about spirituality. And from the Vedas, different religions have been developed by human beings according to their desire. So now we are going to see what is matter and what is life according to that new paradigm, the Vedic paradigm. So, according to the Veda, the matter is mainly consisted of 5 qualities. It is the lower energy of the absolute truth. Matter satisfies the conservation of energy. Matter is eternal, obeys the laws of physics and chemistry to some extent, and lack inherent consciousness, meaning, and purpose. And according to the Veda, life is the superior energy of the absolute truth, satisfies the conservation of energy, is eternal, is non-physical and non-chemical, and possesses consciousness and have inherent meaning and purpose. So, according to the Veda, matter and life has 2 energy of the absolute truth. One is the superior, life is superior, and matter is inferior. So 2, matter and life, satisfy conservation of energy. Like Einstein was saying, theory of relativity, it's conservation. The 2 are eternal. Life is non-physical and non-chemical, and matter can be presented sometimes in physical or chemical terms. The main difference is one have consciousness, life, and one does not have consciousness, matter. And by going on in his study about what is matter, what is life, Dr. Singh explained, first of all, is the alternative view that is cited in the Vedic paradigm. Matter and life are understood to be 2 distinct kinds of energies. They are energy or different energy. Life is designated as a superior energy because it possesses a fundamental feature of consciousness. Matter does not have a consciousness. It is why it is described as the inferior energy. And life consists of innumerable fundamental units, which may be referred as Atma, or living entities. He goes on explaining that the interaction of life with matter ultimately depend upon higher order principle that can be not reduced to mathematical formulation. Because the conscious superior energy interacts with the inferior energy through the consciousness of the absolute truth. Therefore, the distinction between matter and spirit, matter and life, is a quality of consciousness. And this is the main reason why scientists have so much difficulty to define what is life. So now he's going to explain matter under the influence of life. He said that the actual subject of study in modern biology is thus not life itself, but the material structure that are associated with life, and that develop according to the laws governing the interaction of life and matter. So this is a very essential point. Because in modern biology, we don't study what is life itself. We study the material structure that are associated with life. Which is why, it's so important to understand what is science and what is spirituality. Spirituality gives us access to understand who we are, what is life, what is the origin of life. And science can help us to understand how life is here, the material structure, how it's working, how the universe is working, how our body is working. But it's not about life. Science doesn't study about life, it studies about the structure, material structure of life. And now, by presenting this new paradigm, the Vedic paradigm, he explained that the most significant implication of that new paradigm that we have outlined is that he admits the possibility of the Atma's recognizing its own existence apart from matter. So this is the difficulty. If we want to study what is life, we are life. So we are in that study, we are the object of our study, and we are also the subject of our study. This is a difficulty. Modern science, we study the object of our study. We are the subject and we study an object. So it's very easy. But to study as a subject, to study the object with ourselves, means the subject is more complicated. This is why it is explained that according to the alternative view that we are presenting in the Vedic paradigm, the Atma interacts with matter, means the soul interacts with the body, you can say, through the agency of the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul. Or it can be presented as the all-pervading conscious aspect of the Absolute Truth. So this is a new thing. That the Veda explained in our body is made of matter, but there is the Atma, life. And there is also the Paramatma, the Supreme Soul of the Absolute Truth. So it's mean the topic of studying what is life, what is matter, is quite more important than we are thinking. And the Vedic paradigm explains in detail about all this knowledge about what is matter, what is the soul, what is Paramatma. And they use the Sanskrit term like Prakriti, matter, nature, Atma, Paramatma, and this is not a new study. Veda has been written little more than 5,000 years ago in Sanskrit, and now we have many books translated in English, in different languages like that. And we can, if we have the desire to understand or the inspiration to go deeper to that study, connect with that knowledge with available in the Vedic literature. And actually, that knowledge is developed in the Vedic literature 5,000 years ago, but it also has been commented by great sages, personalities like Srila Rupa Goswami, who explain in more detail about what is life in some of his books, like Bhakti Rasamrita. What is life? What is the rasa, the emotion between different living entities? What is the drama? The affection, the feeling of love. This is explained in the Vedic literature, but it has been developed in great detail by personalities like Srila Rupa. So essentially, the object of study in this investigation is the investigator personal self. What is life? To understand what is life, we study who are we. So one of the first steps required for the study of conscious interaction is therefore to have a purification of our mind. Because we may be conditioned, we may be materially conditioned, we may be ignorant of some topics. Veda means knowledge. So it means if we understand where we are and we make some facility to develop knowledge, to develop purification, to be more open to that knowledge we are developing the Veda, we can make a lot of progress in that field. And we can see that a person who is conditioned, who has no real knowledge, of course, he assumes that he is a product of material interaction. So for a person who is materialistic, of course, life comes from matter. But for a person who understands what is life, understand that life comes from life. And he goes on, Dr. T.D. Singh explaining that the study of life ultimately involves the interaction between the individual quantum of consciousness and the absolute or universal consciousness named Paramatma. And he concluded that very interesting monograph by explaining that in this monograph, we have pointed out that the theory of molecular evolution is not scientifically valid. This inherently weak theory has arisen because its propounders have no clear understanding of life and matter. To them, life is just a mechanical transformation of inanimate matter, and they cannot speak about life in any language except that of chemistry and physics. But we have indicated that this approach is incompatible with the observed fact. We have further shown how life and matter can be understood as two completely different categories. One is not reducible to the other, but the latter can be transformed into structure of different sizes, shapes, and color by the influence of the form. Since life is a non-physical and non-chemical entity, any attempts to understand life in terms of chemistry and physics cannot go very far. We have discussed an alternative scientific viewpoint. Both the modern scientific approach and the new paradigm agree that there is an absolute truth. However, the view of modern science reduces the absolute truth to nothing but some pushes and pulls of interactive atomic particles. This view is very unsatisfying and cannot meaningfully explain many observed phenomena pertaining to both life and matter. The new paradigm, means the Vedic paradigm, however, reveals that the absolute truth is the supremely conscious beings, identified as Paramatma. Paramatma possesses unique features or qualities for generating both matter and life. Of course, in that small presentation that I just am doing, I take only a few point ideas that Dr. Singh was developing, but he gave a lot of scientific detail in that presentation. And if some of you are interested about the topics, they can see more information on this Bhaktivedanta Institute website. They can see many books of Dr. T.D. Singh are available, many are in English, and also with other translation, Bengali, French, Russian, Spanish, everything. Or they can also contact me personally. My name is Devarshidas, and my WhatsApp number, my email number. And of course, I'm presenting the topics in a YouTube channel called Science and Spirituality, where I present some introduction to many of the Dr. T.D. Singh books, and in order to have some discussion about that and to take advantage of that, we can say, wonderful work that Dr. T.D. Singh has done in his life to introduce the Vedic paradigm to the Western science. Thank you very much for listening. Hare Krishna.